Peter Pan. You hear the name and what do you think of, right? Flying, fighting pirates, the magic of never growing up. It's a story we all feel like we know inside and out. But what if I told you the version you know is, well, not the real story? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this classic and show you the much, much darker tale hiding underneath. This line. All children except one grow up. It's just so iconic, isn't it? It's from J.M. Barrie's original novel, and it immediately sets this beautiful kind of sad tone. You know, that little sigh for a childhood that's gone. It feels like the perfect opening for a magical story about staying young forever. Or so we think. Yeah, what if it's not the whole story? What if that famous refusal to grow up? What if it's not just some cute, charming quirk? What if it's actually a sign of something way darker? And what if Neverland isn't this amazing paradise, but more like a prison? That's what we're diving into. We're going to look at the Peter Pan that J.M. Barrie actually wrote. And let me tell you, it's a whole lot more complicated and honestly more troubling than the version you probably grew up with. All right, so let's start with the main man himself, the boy who wouldn't grow up. We're going to look at the hero's, well, his dark side. Okay, so just look at this. The Peter Pan we all know, playful hero, charming leader, a bit of a rogue. But Barrie's original Peter? Oh man, he's described as a cruel egoist, callous and forgetful, and an elfish boy. The difference is just, wow, it's night and day. We're not talking about a fun-loving adventurer here. We're talking about a kid who is dangerously, profoundly selfish. And this isn't just us reading into it. This is all straight from Barrie's writing. I mean, one of his first drafts literally describes Peter as being more contemptuous than ever. The book calls him a callous egoist who completely forgets his best friends, even Tinker Bell. And then there's this really chilling line. It says, when the Lost Boys start getting older, Peter thins them out. What does that even mean? Barrie just leaves it hanging there, and it's terrifying. See, this whole not growing up thing, it's not a fun game. It's actually rooted in some serious trauma. The story goes that he ran away, and when he finally tried to come back, the window was locked, and his mom had, well, she had a new baby. So his eternal childhood isn't some happy choice. It's a prison he built for himself out of the fear of being replaced and abandoned. Pretty heavy stuff. Okay, so if Peter is the boy who refuses to grow up, then Wendy is the girl who has to. Let's talk about her, because her trip to Neverland is basically a fairy tale trap. Listen to this. This is what Peter actually says to Wendy to get her to come with him. Wendy, one girl is more use than 20 boys. Yikes. Right from the get-go, he's not talking about her sense of adventure or how brave she is. He's talking about her use. Her entire value in his eyes is based on what she can do for him. So you might be wondering, why does he want her there so bad? Is it to fight pirates, swim with mermaids? Nope. He brings her to Neverland to be a mom. Seriously, he expects her to be this nice, motherly person who's going to cook and clean and mend their clothes and tell them all bedtime stories. So she thinks she's escaping her nursery in London for this grand adventure, but really, she's just been dropped into another one, a pretend one that locks her into the exact same domestic role. And it gets worse, because it's not just Wendy, it's this whole repeating cycle. Think about it. First, there's her mom, Mrs. Darling, who the book hints also knew Peter once, but she grew up and had to forget. Then Wendy gets lured away to be a mother, comes back, and becomes a real one. Then, years later, Peter comes back, but not for her. He comes for her daughter, Jane, for his spring cleaning. And when Jane grows up, you guessed it, he comes back for her daughter, Margaret. The women in this story are basically treated as interchangeable parts in this endless cycle of mothering this one boy who refuses to grow up. So this whole power structure with Peter at the top, it isn't just about Wendy. The whole of Neverland, this so-called paradise, has some really troubling things going on under the surface. Just take a look at the other women in Neverland. You've got Tinker Bell, who is super loyal to Peter, but totally sees Wendy as a rival. You have Tiger Lily, this warrior princess he saves, but he keeps her completely separate from Wendy. And the mermaids. They're just fun toys for Peter, but they are openly, viciously hostile to Wendy. You see the pattern? They all have a use for Peter, but none of them are allowed to be friends with each other. And that's not an accident. That's the whole point. By keeping all the women and girls divided, jealous of each other, separate from each other, hostile to each other, Peter makes sure he stays the absolute center of everything. He stays in control. There's no room for them to team up or support each other in Neverland, because the whole system, with Peter in charge, is designed to prevent it. Okay, now we need to talk about something really uncomfortable. And that's the book's depiction of the Native American tribe.
Barry calls them the Pickaninny tribe. And let's be clear, Pickaninny is a deeply offensive racial slur. The way they're described as savages who can barely speak proper English, it's a racist caricature pulled straight from the kind of colonialist adventure stories that were really popular back then.
And if you had any doubt about those colonialist vibes, the book has the tribe call Peter the Great White Father. I mean, it doesn't get much more explicit than that. This really frames the whole power dynamic of Neverland in these incredibly stark and uncomfortable colonial terms. He's not just their friend, he's their ruler. So let's put it all together. You've got a pretty cruel main character, female characters who are basically trapped, and some seriously racist caricatures. What this all adds up to is a legacy that is way more complicated than just a sweet fairy tale. So really, Peter Pan isn't just a simple adventure story for kids. It's actually a really complex and, frankly, troubling commentary on the time it was written in. It's about the terror of growing up, about super rigid gender roles, and about the colonial fantasies of an empire. Neverland isn't some perfect dream world. It's a mirror reflecting all the anxieties and the prejudices of Barry's society. And you can see how storytellers have struggled with this messy legacy ever since. You know, the famous 1953 Disney movie. It really cemented that clean, heroic image of Peter, but it also doubled down on those awful racial stereotypes. Then fast forward to 1991, Spielberg's Hook just leaves the tribe out completely, avoids the whole issue. And then more recently, the 2015 movie Pan tried to reimagine the tribe as this multi-ethnic fantasy group, basically trying to sidestep the original problem. Every single adaptation has to figure out what on earth to do with these really uncomfortable parts of the original story.
Which brings us to the big question, right? How do we hold on to these classic stories that we love while also being honest about their really uncomfortable truths? Look, understanding the darker, more complicated side of Peter Pan doesn't mean you have to throw the book away. But it does challenge us, doesn't it? It pushes us to think a little deeper about the stories we cherish, to see their flaws, and to ask ourselves what these stories tell us, not just about the world they came from, but about our world too.